Welcome back to the next part of my review of the 2020 miniseries, The Stand. This time I'm going to focus more on the next set of characters. We're going to talk about Stu in the military to start things off. More so Stu. At the beginning I thought he was miscast. The actor I thought maybe not right for the role, but the more I saw Stu on screen in this miniseries, the more I thought he could make it work. And I thought he did okay. But because, again, going back to the flashbacks and things not being done in chronological order, you really miss a potential rapport with Stu that you could have had with his journey, and you miss out on it. When it comes to the free zone, he's not actually well liked in the free zone like he is in the book. In fact, he has a hard time talking, in public, which, does seem more like his character, so I guess that part's okay. But to be a guy in charge and then to not be very well liked with things, they really didn't focus on a relationship with Stu with the community at all, and stuff like that, so the missed opportunity there. The military stuff could have been done better, but I did like in a way how they changed where they gave Stu kind of a rapport relationship with the doctor in the miniseries there. In the book, they're very harsh with him and there's no relationship built whatsoever. But in this miniseries, they try to build a rapport with the doctor he's talking with and whatnot. So, yeah, but then the military stuff, I don't think focused enough on it again. And it's very quick and you don't really know too much about why Stu's there. They explain it, but it's done pretty quickly, and then you're cutting back and forth to other scenes and stuff, so it's not. And once again, he makes it to the free zone, so there's no suspense or wonder what's going to happen to Stu, and there's no drama or suspense. I think I just said that. So him getting out of the hospital and all that stuff, it's just he's in the hospital one scene, the next he's not. Stu and Tom's journey I'd like to focus on more so. More in the book. Stu, Ralph, Larry, and Glenn are sent to Vegas. On the way to Vegas, they reach a washout. They go down the one side of it, and they come up the other side, and Stu falls and breaks his leg. The other three leave him behind. After the explosion in Vegas, Tom Cullen shows up and saves Stu and takes him to a town. I think it's Green River in the 94 miniseries. I'm not sure if it's the same in the book, the name of the town. But Tom has a dream sequence with Nick, who teaches him how to take care of Stu. Tom does. They struggle with getting a car working, and then they get to a hotel. The weather gets bad, the winter time, and then they decide they still want to get to Boulder. They're building their friendship and relationship up during this time. Then they struggle to get back to Boulder, almost die a couple times. They make it to Boulder. Yeah, and it's a big issue. And then Stu has dreams of Franny giving birth to Randall Flagg, issues with the birth of her baby, and all this time you don't know what's happening in the free zone. So you wonder what's going on. In the miniseries, they skip everything. You see Stu in the washout. He's broken his leg. He's by himself. They show him from time to time building a fire with Kojak there, the dog. And then after the explosion in Vegas, Tom just shows up out of nowhere. The very next time you see Stu and Tom, they're in the free zone. Very missed opportunity there. And I'm going to hopefully remember this, but in the final episode, there's a sequence between Franny and Flagg, which I think would have been better put in a dream sequence at this point in the story, potentially showing Franny in the hospital, struggling to give birth, and her blacking out or something, and having this dream sequence with Flagg, where he could have tempted her with making sure her baby would be healthy and well. I think that would have been a better way to go by it, but I'm not the writer. It's not my story, but that's how I personally would have done it, getting into that final episode, because I know you're wondering what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, skipping Stu and Tom's journey, what a mistake. Like, they missed out on a lot to show there. Next, I'll talk about Ray and Ralph. In the books, Ralph is a secondary character that's part of the main character crew. How to phrase it. In the miniseries, they changed Ralph into a female, a woman named Ray, which is fine. I was a little curious with that at first, but I thought, okay, I know why they're doing it, so be it. Problem I had with it was she was in the background. She was even less of a character than she was in the 94 miniseries, and even less in the books. Like, she was just there. Granted, she probably had more scenes in this miniseries, like, included, but the same thing was said with Tom Cullen. The scenes where Ray was there was same with Tom. He was just in the background, not really talking, not really saying nothing. And you're introduced to Ray / Ralph in the miniseries already kind of Mother Abigail's right-hand man, even though Mother Abigail says that Nick's her right-hand man. Ralph is still kind of her caretaker, or Ray is kind of her caretaker, and then she's just I think she is part of the 5 committee, and then she's just there, and she speaks up from time to time, but not too often, and then she goes on the journey with the guys. But once again, there's virtually no story for her, so you really have no connection to her. So in Vegas, when Larry and Ray are in front of everybody about to be executed, there's not other than the general, I hope these people don't die. There's no, this character's one of my favorites. My God, what are they doing? I can't believe they're doing this to her. Is she going to make it? There's no connection to that at all. So I think they could have done a lot better with her. Glenn, I think they did okay. Greg Kinnear, I think he's a pretty good actor, and he did really good with what he had. They did a little better job with him. Glenn really never did need to have an emotional connection. It was displayed in how he talked and what he talked about in the book that made you feel for him, not necessarily the situation that erupted. He was a professor. So, he displayed that with how he was. I'm probably not explaining it properly, but I think those of you will understand what I'm talking about. So Greg Kinnear did a good job at that with what he was given, but especially in the Vegas scene when they're on trial, it was kind of embarrassing because his character really didn't fit the style of the scene. So he almost came off out of place, and his character just didn't fit the setting of it. It's harder to explain that kind of thing. Because the Vegas citizens, I want to get into the next part, and that's part of that. So before I get into that, I'm going to talk finally about Mother Abigail. I'm usually a fan of Whoopi Goldberg's work. I like her acting, her stuff, but here it just seemed like she was just acting. She wasn't too believable as a Mother Abigail. I don't know if it's because Mother Abigail in the book is portrayed as 100 years old, and Whoopi Goldberg is definitely not 100 years old. And even with white hair, she didn't come off that old. And Ruby Dee, I think, was a great choice for Mother Abigail in the original miniseries. And I hate to compare, but leaving the comparison out of it, Mother Abigail in this series, she didn't seem like the beacon that she did in the book. Yeah, people were drawn to her in this miniseries, but because they didn't focus on that, you didn't realize how important of a character she was. And I was actually pretty stoked over the years thinking they're actually going to show Mother Abigail growing up, her past, problems with that. Now, because of today's society, I understand why they didn't do that. There's a lot of racism involved there. So I understand why they didn't show that. But on the other hand, I don't understand why they didn't show that, because the book was written at a time, it reflects how society was at the time of when Mother Abigail would have been a kid growing up. So it's nothing to worry about there. But anyway, she just wasn't portrayed properly. And, so it's a shame because, with her and Flag, the good versus evil, you just miss out on it. And it's not anything you really care about. So the other funny part is Hemingford Home in this is a retirement home. not location with the corn and the shack and that kind of thing. It's just a retirement home. So interesting take on it, but it's kind of more laughable than anything else there. So yeah, so that's it. I'm going to go to the next part, the second last part, I believe, which I'll focus more on the Vegas